I was screaming into my phone, my voice splintering with raw panic. You're not leaving her alone. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I could barely catch a breath. The hospital room, sterile and suffocating, seemed to shrink around me, the walls pressing in as my daughter's terrified sobs echoed in my ears. Just minutes ago she'd called me, her voice trembling. Mommy, Nana and Pops just drove off. I'm all alone. They said they're going to Uncle Jake's party and I'm big enough to stay by myself. I'm scared. My name's Laura Bennett. Most people call me Lori, and I'm a 36-year-old widow clawing my way through life, raising my 10-year-old daughter, Sophie, after my husband, David, was stolen from us in a car wreck 3 years ago. Sophie's been wrestling with anxiety ever since, waking up from nightmares, terrified I'll vanish too. And now, my in-laws, David's parents, had just ripped her worst fears wide open by ditching her when she needed them most. Tina, you're blowing this out of proportion, my father-in-law, Harold, grumbled through the phone, his tone thick with irritation. She's not a toddler. She needs to toughen up. We'll be back in a few hours. A few hours? I nearly shrieked, my voice bouncing off the hospital walls. She's 10, Harold. It's illegal to leave a kid that age alone. Get back to my house now. We're already halfway to Jake's, my mother-in-law, Evelyn, cut in, her voice dripping with casual dismissal. It's his 60th birthday, the whole family's there. Sophie could have come, but she didn't want to. That's on her. I couldn't believe the words coming out of their mouths. Here I was, strapped to a hospital bed after emergency gallbladder surgery, unable to move, and they dumped my little girl, their only granddaughter, for a party. I'm calling my neighbor, Sarah, to check on her, I spat, my hands shaking with fury. And when I'm out of here tomorrow, you're never seeing her unsupervised again. You're being dramatic as usual, Evelyn sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. David would have understood. You're the one making her weak. Using my dead husband against me? That was it. This is over. Stay away from my house. I slammed the call shut and dialed Sarah, my neighbor across the street. Thank God she picked up instantly and promised to rush over to Sophie. As I hung up, trembling with a cocktail of rage and dread, I knew this was only the beginning. Something gnawed at my chest, not the surgery, but a betrayal so deep it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. David's parents had always undermined me. I'm a scrappy girl who grew up without a steady hand to guide me, and I swore I'd do better for my own family. David and I met in college. He was an engineering whiz. I was chasing an education degree. Sophie came along when I was 26, and we were deliriously happy, building a life brick by brick. But Harold and Evelyn? They never thought I was good enough for their golden boy. Subtle digs about my housekeeping, my parenting, they always made it clear I didn't measure up. David was my shield, standing up for me, but when he died, that protection vanished, leaving me exposed to their jabs. She's too clingy, Lori, Evelyn would say, watching Sophie hug my leg at family gatherings. David was never like that with me. We raised him to stand on his own, Harold would chime in, like I was failing some unspoken test. I swallowed it all, kept the peace for Sophie's sake. They were her link to her dad. And I thought grandparents mattered. 3 days ago, though, everything changed. I woke up doubled over in agony, acute cholecystitis, the doctor said. My gallbladder had to go pronto. Frantic about Sophie, I called everyone I knew. My best friends were out of town. Sarah could only help part-time with her job. Desperate, I turned to Harold and Evelyn. They agreed to stay at our house for the 3 days I'd be stuck in the hospital, acting like it was no big deal. See, Lori, family steps up in a crisis, Evelyn had said, tossing clothes into a bag. We've got our differences, but we're here when it counts. I bought it. I trusted them with my world. Surgery came and went, and yesterday I'd called to check in. Sophie sounded off, quiet, withdrawn, but I chalked it up to her missing me. Nothing hinted they'd ditch her today for a party. Now, waiting for Sarah to call back, it hit me. This wasn't a fluke. This was who they were. Sarah rang 10 minutes later. I've got Sophie, she said, her voice steady. She's shaken up but okay. I brought her to my place. She's having cookies with my son. She can stay till you're out tomorrow. Relief crashed over me like a wave. Sarah, I owe you everything. Don't thank me, she shot back. What they did? That's abandonment, Lori. You need to report this. I froze. They're her grandparents, David's parents. And they left a 10-year-old alone for a party while you were in surgery, she pressed. What if something went wrong? What if you couldn't come home tomorrow? She was right. The what if slammed into me: fire, injury, a break-in. That night, still in my hospital bed, I called Child Protective Services. The social worker's voice was gentle but firm as she took my statement. This isn't just a family spat, she said. Leaving a child that age alone is neglect under state law. We'll investigate. I'd barely hung up when Harold called, furious. What the hell, Lori? Some agency just contacted us about interviewing us over Sophie. What did you say? The truth, I replied. My voice eerily calm. You abandoned my daughter for a party while I was stuck here. It was a family event, not some rager, he bellowed. She was fine. She was terrified, Harold. She's been a wreck since David died, and you left her alone. This is insane. We're her grandparents. We have rights. Rights? I snapped. You had a responsibility, and you blew it. Just like you blew it with her. Evelyn's in tears because of you, he growled, trying to guilt me. After all we've done. What have you done besides tear me down since David died? My voice shook, but it was anger now, not fear. I'm home tomorrow. Stay away from my house. You can't keep us from Sophie, he roared. Watch me, I said, and ended the call. That night, the hospital room felt like a tomb. I stared at the ceiling, doubting myself. Was I too harsh? But every time I closed my eyes, Sophie's voice, Mommy, I'm here alone, cut through the noise. No, I wasn't wrong. I'd been too soft for too long. They discharged me the next morning. Sarah picked me up, updating me as we drove. Sophie barely slept, she said softly. Kept asking if you were really coming back today. My heart shattered. Did she say anything else? Sarah paused. She told me this wasn't the first time. Yesterday, they left her alone for an hour to go grocery shopping. Told her not to call you, said you needed rest. Rage burned through me. Twice. They ditched her twice and silenced her. When we got to Sarah's, Sophie flung herself into my arms, sobbing. Mommy, you're back. I held her tight, ignoring the stab of pain from my incision. I'm here, baby. I'm so sorry. That afternoon. Back home, I changed the door codes and called a locksmith for new physical locks. Sophie watched wide-eyed. Are Nana and Pops coming back? She whispered. I sat her down. Not for a while, honey. What they did was wrong and unsafe. They said I was a baby, she murmured. Pop said Daddy wouldn't be proud of me for being scared. Fury choked me. Your daddy would be so proud of you. I said fiercely. Calling me when you were scared? That was brave. My phone buzzed all evening. Harold, Evelyn, even David's brother, Jake. I finally picked up for Jake. Lori, chill out. He started. Mom and Dad are a mess. They say you reported them and changed the locks. They abandoned Sophie. Twice I said, ice in my voice. Left her alone to go to your party. They screwed up, okay? But they're family. Family doesn't put my kid in danger, I shot back. Would you leave your boys alone at 10? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. They're not welcome here until they own this. Evelyn left voicemails, each nastier than the last. This is ridiculous, Lori. We love Sophie. Then you're poisoning her against us. David would hate this. Finally, we're getting a lawyer for grandparents' rights. You've gone too far. I deleted them, hands trembling. They had money for a fight. But I had proof, and Sophie's safety was worth it. The next morning, CPS emailed me. They'd opened a case and would visit that afternoon. At the bus stop with Sophie, my phone lit up, Evelyn again. I declined, but her text came fast. We're coming at noon to talk. This has gone far enough. My pulse raced as I typed back. Stay away or I'll call the police. You wouldn't dare. Try me. After Sophie's bus left, I called the non-emergency police line. The officer promised a patrol around noon. Sure enough, at 11:55, Harold's SUV rolled up. They stormed my porch. Evelyn jabbing the doorbell, Harold banging the door. Their old key didn't work. I spoke through the video doorbell. I told you to leave. The police are coming. This is our granddaughter. Harold yelled. She's at school and you're trespassing, I said. Right on cue, a cop car pulled up. The officer calmly sent them packing as Harold raged. Afterward, he knocked. Miss Bennett. They're gone. Want to make a statement? I let him in, spilling everything. He suggested a restraining order if it escalated. Exhausted, my incision throbbing. I realized I'd skipped my meds in the chaos. Then Jake's wife, Rachel, called. Mom and Dad said the police kicked them out of your place. Isn't this too much? They showed up after I told them no. I said, they endangered Sophie. Would you let your boys go through that? No, but Then don't ask me to, I cut her off. On Facebook, Evelyn had posted a sob story about being barred from our granddaughter and falsely accused. Family chimed in confused, but some asked, did you leave Sophie alone during Lori's surgery? The truth was leaking out. 3 days later, CPS's Ms. Carter sat in my living room. Your in-laws admitted leaving Sophie, claiming it was brief and safe. Sophie confirmed 2 instances. It's neglect, but not criminal. It'll stay on record. What's next? I asked tense. We'll wrap up next week. Counseling might help if you want them back in your life. I don't know if I do. I confessed. Later, I got an email from a lawyer representing Harold and Evelyn, pushing for visitation rights. They claimed I was alienating Sophie, without just cause. I forwarded it to my friend Karen, a lawyer. She called instantly. They're bluffing. Neglect on record? They've got no shot. I'll represent you. That night, Jake showed up alone. I talked to Rachel's sister, a child psychologist. She said this could have traumatized Sophie. I didn't know they lied at my party, saying you had her covered. He apologized to Sophie, who softened. Before leaving, he said, I told Mom and Dad to drop the legal crap. We won't back them. Evelyn texted later, we need to talk, no lawyers. The tide was turning. A week later, we met, me and Karen. Them and their lawyer, Mr. Grayson. An agreement sat between us. They'd take grandparenting classes in therapy before unsupervised visits. I'd drop the CPS complaint and allow supervised time. This isn't punishment, I said. It's about Sophie. We think this is overblown, Harold muttered, signing, but fine. 3 months later at the park, Sophie showed Harold her new tablet while Evelyn listened. Actually listened. Therapy had cracked their defenses. Evelyn admitted they parented her like it was the 80s. Pushing independence too hard. We were wrong, she'd said in session. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Sarah texted, how's it going? Better than I hoped, I replied. They're hearing her. Sophie had a village now, Sarah, Jake, Karen, and more. As she laughed with Harold, I felt peace. Not revenge, but transformation. That was victory.